Hello and welcome to Bug Watch with Swissley. I'm your Bioform boy, and as you well know, this show is all about Tyranids. Please like and subscribe for more excellent content from myself and the team going on. Guys, we're back to normality in the Arcs meta for Tyranids. We won that GT, and now we're middle of the road again, part of the pack, a 3-2, a 2-3 or less. So without further ado, let's get into this weekend's lists. All right, first up, I wanted to share with you that I took Mark Parker's lists to an RTT as I promised last week. So I wanted to give you my thoughts on how it went and some takeaways that I would give you if you wanted to run it. First of all, I want to say it was a really fun list to run. It really does scare the living daylights out your opponent. They don't really know how to deal with it sometimes. And do know how to deal with it, and I think that's probably a tricksy one when you get to the top to the higher tables. I unfortunately ran into, I think, the second placed player in game one who really counted it hard for me. Perhaps I could have got out of it, but we'll talk about it now. It's a Leviathan list with the adaptive trait. It has 2 Relic Gun Hive Tyrants. It has 10 Gargoyles, 10 Termagants, 10 Hormagants as well, so 1 of each flavor. We have 5 Tyrant Guard. We have 3 Zoes, 4 Fexes with heavy venom cannons, and 2 Harpies. So very interesting. You know, it's kind of a monster mash, but without the obsec monsters, but with the reliability of hitting with a lot of those heavy venom cannon shots. And believe me, they hit. They hit. All right. So first game was a loss. It was to a Demons player, a lovely guy who came second in the end. He won 79-65. I think it was very close until the last game, if I'm honest. Sorry, until the last turn. He really did me over with 9 Beasts of Nurgle. Now, originally I thought, great, he's going to start them on the board. I'm going to shoot them all with heavy venom cannons and take them out. In strategic reserve or deep strike, and they could just come in next to my Carnifexes and tag them for almost the entire game. It was a battle the Carnifexes were never going to win in combat, really. So the Beasts of Nurgle did very well. I mean, they killed a couple, but at the end of it, the Beasts of Nurgle whistled them all. So that was that. It was a good game. But yes, moving on to the next game was a win for myself against the Orcs. So with this one, my opponent did keep me to a 3 on Psychic Interrogation with his Weird Boy. And that's, I think, one of the big takeouts I've got really of secondaries and Arcs Bowman at the moment, is that Psychic secondaries are pretty tough. We have Grind Them Down, though, and Grind Them Down did me really well. I took that in conjunction with Bring It Down, and that did very well. He had loads of vehicles, so that kind of helped. He also had Gaz, and yeah, that kind of did him over. I think we did him in combat. Oh no, I might have smited him to death because I'm a coward. So that was a big win for me. It was, to be honest, it was one of that chap's first events, so I tried to be as friendly as possible, as you should do with anyone whose first event it is. But I hopefully had a good game. We then went into a Jane Sailor Cult game, which I was a little bit concerned about because obviously this list doesn't really have a great deal of board presence. Obviously they are very threatening and they can, the threat range is very big, but in terms of sitting on objectives, if they kill one Carnifex, that's a big miss for this list because you don't have a lot of assets to hold objectives with. So how did this game go? It was a pretty tough one for my opponent. He Assassinate for me was very strong, especially with the Harpies who could just fly behind. And I would say about this list is very good at Assassinate. And I tried to deny them scoring by keeping to the sides, keeping in my own deployment zone, letting him have most of the board, but then shooting him to death, trying to score my 8s, and then later on taking the bomb mission, I believe. So there, I didn't really let him deep strike into my half of the board so that he could do that. So that was another way of getting it. But in the end, it was primary that won the day because I could just stand on objectives and he didn't really want to charge me too much. And his army was built around charge. Anything that did charge died and lost loads of bodies. So in the end, it was over by turn 4, I believe. But was super, super nice guy. I've played him before. He beat me with knights. I've now beat him with his Gene Steel Cult. So we're 1-1. I'm looking forward to playing him again. Yeah, top guy. So what are my key takeouts for this list? Definitely sit on 8 and be content until late game. That's when you can take more objectives. You know, your chap isn't going to do a great deal. It's maybe going to sit on objectives, hold banners, do rods and things. But late game is where it really kind of excelled for me because it's got bigger reach, especially the Hormigants and the Gargoyles have really great reach. You can encircle the prey with the Gargoyles, things like that. So they can come down late game and just take an objective and score you 4 points. So very nice in that sense. And of course, with R&D, if that's, I think I took it one game, I got an 8 on it. It was fine. It was in lieu of anything else, really. So there is that. Obviously, the best secondaries that this list really leans into, and I would recommend, is Assassinate for the Harpies. If you can take it, take it. You know, if you're going to get more than a 12 or a 13, then it's definitely worth it. The Harpies just really do really well. My opponents just don't really know how to deal with Harpies at the moment because not many people are taking aircraft. If you're against an all melee army, for example, this Gene Stealer Cult list and the Orc list was mostly melee. The Harpies just have free reign, really. In fact, neither of them died the entire tournament. So that's something to say about Harpies. Bring It Down is obviously very good. You're full of heavy venom cannons and relic guns, all sorts. You know, it's just very good to take. And Grind Them Down, which was solid because your opponents really struggle to kill a Carnifex most of the time. But I do feel that Psychic secondaries are a lot more vulnerable. They're a weak spot at the moment, I believe. Maybe it's just me playing it wrong, but whether you're taking Warp Ritual in terms of getting into the middle, we're not as killy as we used to be, and that's a bit difficult to do. Or it's Psychic Interrogation, which gives your opponent all the agency in the world. It's pretty tough. Pretty tough. Overall, I really like this list. There's two ways I think to play Tyranids at the moment. You can try and score points and try and get a reliable 80 every game, or more than 80, so to speak. And I did with this list, to be fair, which is going to contradict what I'm about to say. You can do that, or you can try and just blow your opponent off the board and stop them scoring. And I think that's what this list really does, right? It to deny your opponent scoring and win the game that way. The other way of playing it is with your secondaries, things like that, and you can try and eke out a couple of points win on that, while trying to deny a little bit of points to your opponent. I can't really say this list doesn't do both, if I'm honest. And I think it's definitely worth trying. If you have the assets to pull this list off, give it a go. It was a lot of fun. I think I'm probably going to go back to what I was doing before. That's nothing to do with this list, really. It's not my style in terms of blowing things off the board. I like to be quite cute. I think I'm an Eldar player at heart, really, but we'll see. So yeah, if you, I thoroughly recommend giving it a go. And well done to Mark for going 5-0 with this. It's a great list, and it was great fun. All right, let's get on to last week's other lists. We've got Frank Guerra, Mile High Militarum. He came 35th out of 145. He went 4-2. He beat T-Suns, CS Votan, and with loss to second place Space Wolf and Asurani. So this list is cracking with the adaptive. So it feels like we're pushing the opponent back with pressure. We're keeping them blocked in their deployment zone and trying to get all the points early doors. So what tools has he got to do this? So to be successful pressure list, we need to lay the threats that we send in. Frank has loads here. He has 2 buffed up squads of Hormigants with -2 AP on the charge, so they are going to kill what they charge, hopefully, and then overrun to essentially screen out your opponent moving forward. And then same goes for the Screamer Killers on -4 AP on the charge. Pretty good. Putting Marines to the sword there if he's up against any, even Redemptor Dreadnoughts, things like that, getting those wounds straight through. Unless they have an invul, can't remember. Don't think they do. They have -1 damage. That's it. Tervigan with the Termagant Brick, obviously the next wave as well, pushing up to deny primary. we know what the Termagant and the Termagant brick do. It respawns onto objectives to score your primary and potentially just give your opponent a headache. In late game, perhaps the Swarm Lord can come up alongside the Venom Throps, so that if there are any big threats charging into the Swarm Lord, the Venom Throps can hopefully make him fight last on a 3-up, and the Swarm Lord bops it on the head. So to make sure we deny points while scoring them, the Swarm Lord is there to give double obsec and reroll hits, and giving them to Hormagaunts is really strong, especially if they're the first attack wave, and that is extra. The synergy here is really strong because you've got the reroll charges spell as well that Kraken has, so really nice. One thing I really love about this list that I haven't seen in 9th yet at all is the Carnifexes with multiple guns and no combat weapons. Amazing. To be honest, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. I forgot we could do this. I really did. You can see he's got enhanced senses, stronger thorn cannon, heavy venom cannon, and then the secondary weapons are 2 death spitters with slimer maggots. So what do? You might be screaming at your iPhone and or TV screen. Well, they're strength 6. They're 3 shots each, so 6 in total. Strength 7, -3, 1 damage shots. It's almost a screamer killer, right? Essentially, you're giving for 10 points. You're giving your opponent, you're giving your Carnifex a screamer killer scream, which is nice against trap units and even like units with a 3-up armor save or 2-up armor saves. It gives them something to think about, right? So very nice indeed. And again, something we've not really seen in 9th. In terms of secondaries, I think we're looking at the usual, to be honest. Behind enemy lines, I think we can get away with on this list, especially we've got the Lictor in there as well, the Gene Stealers, maybe as a turn 1 charge as well. I do find they're really good at that. Unfortunately, without a redeploy, they are also, something your opponent can swing off to get into your face. So there's a double-edged sword with Gene Stealers at the moment. There's obviously 5 and not 6. So it's all likelihood that they will be there to forward deploy and not to do something like Rod, etc. Unless, of course, we're giving Mobsec in the command phase. It's potential. The behind him lines, as I said, banners as well. We can do that. And either cranial or assassinate would be pretty nice here. We've got the speed to get around and tag characters. And then a psychic secondary, which, I feel, as I said before, I feel a little bit meh on these at the moment. Job to Frank, and well done for going 4-2. Right, next list. Boom. All right, we're with Christopher Herrera. Now, I know, guys, I'm making a change around here. It's my house, and there's a new rule. The new rule is that we are now considering RTTs when there aren't any standout GT performances. That supersedes my old rule of never looking at RTTs. So, look, it's a war zone out there. We've got to take the wins where we get them. So that's what we're doing. So now we're looking at RTTs when there are really strong performances. Like Christopher here, who went second out of 26 players. Sorry, 26 players. What did Christopher do? He wrote down obsec monsters and fall back and shoot under army traits, picked up his 3 exocrines and hit the shop. That's what he did. This looks like a super fun, but also very lethal list. So we're looking at who we won against. Came from second place. 3 of those wins, sorry. So these were the 40k for he beat 2 Silent King Necron lists and a Chaos Knight list. What a weird run, but it sounds incredibly fun. Obviously the Chaos Knights list would have been an interesting game for the Exocrines for sure. But okay, let's get to the list, right? So 3 Exocrines, all obsec 5, all blow things up all the tricky to hide, all 3. So one of them has a 4-up invul with Diomic Symbiosis, I think it's called. And basically we can advance up the board, we can smash an onslaught onto them, and then they can fire without penalty. So they move up onto middle objectives and shoot stuff if you want. You've also got the Maliceptor, which probably is something you would push up first before the Exocrine, as it's a little bit more durable and fights a bit better. But this is just so much fun, right? You're pushing all these big monsters up and then falling back and shooting. The Maliceptor gets up the board, does his psychic stuff. I took a Maliceptor this weekend, and the second RTT that I went to, because I went to 2, guys. I'm a baller. And the Maliceptor I missed it so much. It's so good. So, and Christopher's taken 2 here, which is an absolute flex. So it's still a great unit. Great to see. And of course, if you mix the heightened reflexes with the Hive Tyrant imperative, we can fall and then charge again. Or if you want to get on another objective, that Exocrine can fall back, shoot. If you put, you know, if you fall back, it's -1 to hit. To be fair, but if you fall back and then you fall back the full amount that you move, so up to 8 inches, and then you can charge. It really gives you versatility with these, what people would consider very stationary artillery pieces. Really fun. Of course, you can't fall back in Psychic on the Maliceptors or the Hive Tyrant when you do the imperative, but still, it's a very cool option to fall back and shoot, especially with the Hive Tyrant. So overall, very cool, very aggressive, very what's your opponent going to do here? Like it's a very surprising list, and well done to Chris for coming second place. This is another one I think I might be trying if I had a third Exocrine, but I don't. All right, guys, thanks for watching and listening. If you want to hear anything from me in terms of lists, things like that, any events that you saw that were really interesting, if you had a great performance and I've missed it, tell me. I want to talk about your list. But a big thank you to all the generals that I featured today. Well done for your performances at the weekend. And of course, for those of you going to into games this weekend, the best of luck. I'll definitely be there rooting for you. Have a great one. Ta-ra! Bye!